Good morning. It is actually Sunday morning that I am recording this. I don't know if you guys know or not, but I have an obsession with fried eggs. Did a little piece of toast with some kale and onions and then a little egg on top. The trick is a little cayenne pepper. And then when the egg, I don't know why I just enjoy the breaking of the yolk so much. I just think it's so pretty. Look at that. Watch this slide off my plate. Anyways, I try to not check email on Sundays, but I also remind myself to do things by sending myself emails. So I had to remind myself to pay some doctor's bills. I got some dental work done. Have you guys ever had a crown done? Because I normally have I think jagged teeth. I've never had a crown before. And I got a crown, and it now feels like I have a soft little baby blanket. The crown is so soft. I just find myself all day being like, oh, so soft on my tongue. Anyways, enough of that. But I got an email this morning. Well, I got a notification of a comment on one of my blogs. And I will say, I get far less criticism than I would assume that I would get. But it is something that has been on my mind since I started blogging. I think I started blogging in 2009. And I did not know about the world of blogging. I didn't know about online Christians and what have you. And so I really got into it. My eyes were open to just kind of the way Christians communicate to one another online. And it has become really disheartening for me. And I'm not recording this to sound like I have it, I'm just so evolved and above it all, but the comment I got today, it was anonymous. They didn't leave their email, and they left it publicly on one of my posts, and there are a number of ways to privately contact me. And I love that we live in a day and age where we can share our opinion, and I've heard a number of people say that it's so good that we have this public platform, especially among Christians, because it's a way for us to hold each other accountable, people who are writing things that we disagree with. But I get that point, but I also am so disheartened by it that I don't actually read blogs anymore, unless someone sends me something. But I just feel like we're kind of doing it the wrong way. And the way that we are so anonymous, and sometimes not even anonymous, sometimes we want to be known by our scathing remarks. It just doesn't feel like we're doing a good representation of those of us who call ourselves Christ followers, of being an aroma, as Scripture says, to the rest of the world, that they want to know more because they smell such a fragrance coming from us. Or Scripture says that they will be known by the way they love each other. And I think that's a really easy cop-out. Oh, we just need to be known by the way we love each other, and then we never challenge each other. That's not what I'm trying to say. But when I was in college, I took a class called Rhetoric, and I was just with a friend yesterday who was also in that class, and we were trying to figure out if we remembered anything from that class or college. But the definition of rhetoric, that's not a slam on our school or our teachers, that's our own intellect. But rhetoric is the art of speaking well. And another class that I took in college obviously I didn't take a lot of English classes, was conflict resolution and reconciliation. And we read a book in that called Civility by Stephen Carter. And I think I've mentioned him on the blog before. But it was so much about how we have become an uncivil culture. And I think sometimes in our anonymity, it breeds incivility. And we say things that are just like, I think about my friends who don't know Christ and don't know his words, peeking in on some of us who are the loudest, and I'm ashamed and I'm embarrassed. And it's hurtful. I'm writing a book that comes out this summer, and I have to tell you, the thing that just keeps playing in the back of my mind is Amazon reviews. And how can I make sure I never ever read those? And I'm not scared of people who don't hold my same faith. I'm scared of the people who do profess to believe what I believe and are going to write really mean things. And that's sad that I should feel that way. But it's what I see. It's what I see out there. And the only person that I've so far heard address this really well, and you can tell me if there's other people, but Beth Moore did a study on James, and she talked about discovering things that people said about her online. And nobody has addressed Matthew 18. Well, Beth Moore ended up talking about it, but Matthew 18 talks about going to a brother in private. And I just want to know how many of us who are out there writing scathing things and disrespectful and hurtful things in the name of challenging our fellow believers are really prayerful before we post comments, or respond, or try to approach someone privately. I know some of you do, but even then, like, before you push publish or whatever it is, like, are we really prayerful? And is this really helping? I mean, the model of Scripture is there to help us. And so if it says go to a brother privately when you want to confront a conflict, and if that doesn't work, then you take 2 or 3 other people, and then you get the church involved, and then there's all these steps always so that person will return and do right. But the thing is, there's a lot of stuff in Scripture that is, gray, and it's hard to figure out. So why don't we just let each other have our own opinions sometimes? I mean, the thing that the person wrote me today, I was like, they don't have to read my site. Like, you don't have to read what I'm writing. Why are you so upset? So anyways, I just really wish that we could be more civil, that we would be, if we proclaim to be Christ followers, that we would be prayerful about how we treat one another online and the aroma that we're giving off by the way that we love each other. And it does not mean that we don't have to give our opinions, because that guy Stephen Carter, who wrote the book Civility, I heard him lecture a few years ago. I was so excited. I was like, oh, that's that guy. I read his book in college. I actually remember. And the lecture that he gave was an argument for keeping libraries expanding and not getting smaller and smaller as we move to ebooks and everything electronic, because of what happens with our brain when we have something actually in our hands and we can remember where it was in an actual book, and just the retention, and what he's seen as a professor of the disconnect when students are writing their papers, and it's just, we're so easily distracted. And so he thinks that it's not helping our brain, and we become a soundbite generation. And so he calls us the bumper sticker generation, where we express our emotions in the amount of a tweet or a bumper sticker, and we don't learn how to articulate ourselves well, or, in the words of rhetoric, the art of speaking well. And someone asked him from the audience, they said, if there's one thing or one class that you could tell every young person to take, what would it be? And he said rhetoric. And I was like, I did it. I took it. Because if we cannot believe that our co-arguer, somebody that disagrees with us, has value, we are going to write to them as if they're dumb or stupid or just ridiculous for thinking the way that they are. But if we see them as God tells us to see them, as a child of God and someone who has worth and value, I really think the art in which we respond to them we could disagree fully, but it could be so beautiful that people peeking in on Christians would go, I like the way they treat each other. So those are my Sunday morning thoughts.